welcome back to the Hard Media Hard Service Solutions Podcast. Hard Media Group is a social media solutions company, and Hard Service Solutions is the exact same thing, but focused on the in-home service business. Today is going to be awesome. Working with one of my favorite companies. We're here with 2Swift. We're here with Andrew and Mo. Fellas, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us on.
I appreciate it.
I'm super excited about this one, mainly because this is one of my favorite things in the entire world. I'm riding mine daily. I absolutely love this thing. It grabs a lot of attention. It's a lot of fun. So I have to ask, let's get this thing started. Why the 2Swift? Why'd you guys get into the EV situation? What were you thinking?
So I guess a little background on Mo and I. So Mo and I are both mechanical engineers, and we work for an engineering firm in Cleveland. And we kind of run the product development segment. And, every now and again when we have some downtime, when we're not doing other projects, we kind of look to start up a new product and get into a new industry. And we wanted to start getting into the PEV space. And we kind of saw that there was a window where there's not really any two-wheel PEV boards on the market. And, honestly, we just started putting some ideas on a whiteboard and try to kind of figure out, how could we make a two-wheel inline electric skateboard that was not only like super maneuverable, but also like super stable at high speeds. And we kind of drew up the first iteration of the 2Swift on a whiteboard, and then we made a steel prototype. And then, from there we just kept refining it and developing it over, the course of the last 3 years. And that's kind of where we are now.
This thing rides. I've been on a lot of these things. This thing rides better than all of the rest. Was that like a big focus when you guys were creating it, to make a comfortable ride, to make you feel safe on it, you feel comfortable?
I mean, the main goal was to make a two-wheel board that was maneuverable. It was stable at high speeds, and then also we wanted to make like a quality product that was made in the U.S. and we wanted to kind of put some high-end components in there, use high-end materials, and build something that was going to last and was relatively maintenance-free. And I think kind of after we built the first prototype, we were just kind of like really surprised about like the handling and the performance, and that's kind of what like was the aha moment, I would say, where we were like, okay, I think we got something here.
Yeah, that first prototype was just like a steel behemoth, and when that one worked, we're like, we actually have something that we can pursue here.
Yeah, I mean, this thing was like 60 pounds. It was a bear. We like definitely way overbuilt it. We probably built it in like 10 minutes, and it was like just, we welded some steel tube together, got some angle iron, put something together, and we tried it out, and we're like, holy shit, this thing's pretty good. And then we just kept refining the design.
That's awesome. So for some of our PV nerds, like you said, there's some high-end elements. What are some of the things that went into this board that make it what it is?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is the battery. We didn't want to compromise on the quality of the battery. We were using the Moly cell P42As, which is like the top line cell at the time then for a battery. From there, it's just the entire chassis is just top-notch quality. I mean, it's 6061 aluminum, chromoly tubing. The board's a tank. Yeah,
and all the it's all welded, TIG welded by hand, like the front tube assembly. When you see some pictures, you'll see what we're talking about. And then, CNC machine, laser cut, CNC bent. I mean, we put a lot of time into, building like a durable, stiff chassis, and then, putting the electronic components in there that'll hold up.
In my opinion, when you ride these things, this is the first one that truly rides like a snowboard. I mean, was that part of the design feature, or just one of the things that came out of it, like as you build it?
Yeah, so Mo and I both snowboard and ride motorcycles, so I feel like it's kind of a combination of both of those things. At high speeds, like the 2Swift, the front wheel kind of stays in line, and it kind of acts more like a motorcycle, whereas you use like the tire profile to carve on, and so that kind of gives you the feeling of like riding an edge on a snowboard, I would say. And then at low speeds, it's more the caster wheel in the front kind of kicks out more, and you're able to maneuver it in super tight turning radius. You're able to kind of bob and weave through different obstacles, and I think it's pretty surprising how it's super stable at high speeds, and then you're also able to maneuver down the sidewalk, avoid obstacles, trees, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the caster wheel. I mean, I think for someone first hopping on it, a little bit of anxiety. You see, then you get on it, you're like, it makes sense. this thing, it's so awesome and such a great feature on the board. But when you first see it, you're like, your brain goes to like what a caster wheel would be like on a grill or something, right? Like, and then you get on it, you're like, this has to be on this for it to handle and move the way it moves. Like
100%. I think a lot of people see it and they're like, this looks like a shopping cart wheel.
Yeah.
And like, when you push those, you get a bad shopping cart there and the thing's just going and chattering like that. I think a lot of people kind of think it's going to be something similar to that. But if you actually like look at the geometry of the front steering axis, it's angled back. And what that does is it kind of allows when you put weight on the board, it automatically centers the wheel. So in order for the front wheel to actually move side to side, it actually has to pick up the weight of the rider. So that keeps it extremely stable at high speed. So there's a couple little tricks in there that do allow it to perform better than your normal shopping cart wheel.
you guys have had this thing all over the country. You're on tour with the board now. You guys are going to be moving around. So you got some big cities coming up. You've been on the West Coast. You're going to be heading to the East Coast soon. What is some of the feedback you're getting when you're out on the road with this thing?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is when people actually ride it at first, they are intimidated by the look on it. And then the second they get off, I mean, they got the biggest smile on their face and they're just like, this was a lot easier than I thought it would be to ride. And it was like the most, thrill that they've had in a while on it. They're just taken away by how stable it is. I mean, I think, like I said, the biggest feedback would just be that they enjoyed it more than they thought they would have at first.
Yeah, personally, I would say like I've taken it everywhere. I've had it on trails. I've had it on the street. I've actually taken it to the beach, rode it on like packed sand. I think like it rides better than anything else. Like if I feel like if I'm on path and I need to ditch off and get in the grass, I can ride through the grass. Like it's been fantastic, and I feel super safe on it all the time.
We're definitely glad to hear that. I think, I think a lot of people, they're definitely taken back and they're like, there's no way I can ride this thing. And then like we've seen, it's probably between 5 to 15 minutes, people are able to ride it. And then like within 30 minutes to an hour, people are able to like, actually kind of get after it on it, which is, I think kind of, a lot of people just don't think that they're going to be able to ride it. And it kind of blows them away when they get on and they get off and they're like, holy cow, like that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So it is intimidating looking, but I also think, if you can kind of get past that initial fear and actually put a foot on it and ride it, you'll be surprised. As
you guys have developed this thing, I'm sure you ran into some challenges. You've had to overcome some obstacles. Can you talk a little bit about that and, what got you to where you're at now?
I'll touch on one. I know. So when we were first kind of developing it, we tried a couple different methods and trying to, kind of dampen the front wheel and eliminate any possibility of getting chatter in the front wheel. We first started with some kind of springs that pulled the wheel back to center, and just doing some testing and riding. We kind of figured out that wasn't going to work for reasons when the wheel gets unloaded. If you hit a bump or something in a turn and it pulls it back to center, then the front wheel's going the wrong way that your body's going, so that ends up being not too good. But we've and then we were kind of just trying to keep the cost down and use high-end components, and we came across a steering dampener that we could put into the front headset, and that essentially slows down how fast the front wheel can move back and forth. So we've installed those on all the boards, and that's been super helpful in increasing stability and just giving you more confidence kind of cornering with the thing.
So you guys have been big proponents of safety. You haven't hidden that fact. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, we got a bunch of young kids that are going to hop on this thing.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, I'd definitely say, we always recommend to wear a helmet when you're riding. And, as you're first riding around, you don't know what the street conditions may be if you're running on a sidewalk or stuff. So we always recommend, throw on some safety gear, elbow pads, knee pads, but bare minimally a helmet. I mean, the thing is stable, but you never know what terrain you might encounter as you're riding.
100% on that. I mean, there's always like inherent risk when you're riding these kind of things. In this board, I mean, it'll go 24 miles an hour, so it's not slow, and it's definitely not a toy. It has pretty good performance numbers, and it's pretty quick. So you definitely want to be padded up when you're riding it, wearing a helmet. Definitely wear closed-toed shoes, because if you got to run off the thing going 24 miles an hour, I mean, you're probably hitting a tuck and roll there, and so you just want to make sure that you're prepared for that, because I guess you kind of get cocky on this thing, and then that's when it gets you. So you just want to make sure you're you're prepared for the situation.
So you made a good point. it's not a toy. A big part of the target market for you guys is the commuter market. It could be the business guy who doesn't want to have to park his car downtown. It could be the person that, I take it to go get groceries, get my hair cut, to go get coffee. I'm driving all over. It's a big concept behind the board is that it can be a commuter tool. Like it can be an actual vehicle to live your life by. You talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the whole PEV space is really growing, and people are looking for alternative ways to get around. Like you mentioned, that could be the person that lives in a bigger city and instead of paying $400 a month for parking, they can park somewhere else and just ride their PEV into town and get around places. Doing errands and stuff. So, I mean, you treat this thing not like a toy, like a vehicle, and just kind of be obey traffic laws and be cognizant while you're riding around, just aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you to make sure that you're in a good spot while you're riding.
And then for people that really don't know much about the PEV scene, I mean, once you kind of start looking at these vehicles, you'll be kind of surprised by the range and the speeds that some of these things can hit, and that does come with a price tag. But you do got to think, like, if you can go 20 miles on an electric skateboard, I mean, that can get you to and from work in one day. You don't got to pay for gas. You don't got to pay for parking. So there's definitely a commuter scene for that. And then you also got to think, like, it's probably way more fun than driving a car. And you look cooler.
So, big question. Where is 2Swift in 5 years? What have you guys accomplished? Where are you at?
That's a good question. I think so. I mean, definitely we're hoping this thing just grabs on, and people that are interested in board sports, I think you definitely got to give this thing a try and get on it. I think you'll be blown away. Snowboarders, wakeboarders, surfers, anyone that kind of has that experience and you get on this thing, I think you'll be super happy with how it performs and how similar it feels to those other sports that already exist. But I think in the next 5 years, we've released one model. I'm hoping that we can make a smaller model that's a little bit more affordable, maybe more adapted for younger kids, less performance, less range. And then I also would like to, look at making a more of a high performance model that could be maybe have bigger tires, more range, more speed, definitely be more stable. And then I also just, Mo and I kind of both want to just keep getting into this PEV industry because we both think it's going to be, it's going to be part of the future as everything goes to be electrified. And just the fact that you can get around on these smaller vehicles, they're a lot cheaper than a car. You don't got to pay for gas. I mean, I do think it's going to be the future. And if you kind of look out on the West Coast, you can see it starting to be adapted out there. I think it's just a matter of time before it makes its way this way.
That's awesome. So I appreciate you guys coming onto the show. This has been great. Full endorsement for the 2Swift board. Full bias, but still full endorsement for these guys. It's amazing. It is one of the best things I've ever ridden. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Do what you want, boy, I do what you want.